Howdy folks, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to start making a new pen and you get to watch. So check it out. I have here a pen kit and this was inside but I took it out. We're going to be working on the Gatsby pen. It's a twist pen with gold trim, and if you look at the pieces here, it's got black in there with some gold. And the blank that I'm using is Indian Ebony. So I'll pull this out because the first thing you're going to need to do is figure out what size drill bit you need. And it says right here, 27/64. And the first step in making a pen is getting your blank drilled out. So you get your little handy dandy drill bits here. And you're going to find 27/64. Which I should have marked. Nope, that's 3/8. Here we go. 27/64. And the reason that you do this is because you have to drill. That clearly is not it. It's got to be the one that's behind it. Your drill bit should not fit through your tube because the drill bit is going to drill through your blank. And this tube's got to be able to fit in there, so therefore your drill bit needs to be bigger than the tube. Unless I'm just reading this wrong, it might be the one that's actually behind it. Alright, there we go, that's about it. So we're going to go drill this one out, and then we'll test fit it and do the next steps. Pause. Alright, your next step in drilling this out is you got to find the center point of your blank. So I always just take a flat edge and you line it up on the corners here, mark your line that runs straight across, and then do the opposite side the same, because this will give you the center of the blank. It may not be dead accurate, but it's pretty close. And what I do to mark this out is you can take a punch. Actually, I think I have some right here. There we go. But I also weld, and I have some tungstens, which are basically a really sharp arrow. And I use those just to kind of punch my center line out there. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this down here and use my, actually something heavy. Here we go. This is something I welded. That'll work. It's just to put a mark in there. Oops, dropped it but caught it. Man, got them hands, bruh. Alright, let's put that there. Punch. There, now I have a starting point. Alright, so we'll put that back to the side, put this little punch over here out of my way. And here I have a vise. This is a pen vise and press, 2-in-1 combo. So we're going to zoom this in. And what I'm going to do is put this blank inside of here. What is that? That's weird. Okay, whatever. And now that I have that started, when I go to press down, that'll line up in there. So you're supposed to use brad point drill bits, which are like these, and they have this little bitty sharp piece up here. It's like a point, and what it does will easily find that hole. But I have these. They have some that are kind of like not as pointed. But if you look at the shape, that V should find this center hole pretty easily. But technically speaking, you're supposed to use those. But I think this is good enough. And I got my drill bit too far out, so I need to push it back up. Well, I'm going to have to really get it up in there. This sucks. This ain't going to work. Oh, man. I'll have to figure out something else. because you see that it's almost bottomed out too. Let me see if I can get it in there a little bit more and then just move it out as I need it. Just tighten down. It's being a little difficult. That's as far as that goes down. And it's still too tall. Alright, well, I just need that. Gosh, I don't want to mess it up because I don't have a lot of extra space, margin for error. And that's as far as it'd go. I wish I could turn the head on this so that way it gets off of the base. If that were the case, I could probably do this. Alright, let me figure this out and I'll come back on the video once I'm ready to drill. Okay, since I was in the Army, I'm going to improvise. I've always been taught to improvise, make it work, but try to be safe as possible doing it. So I found some C-channel clamps, C-clamps, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold the clamps, and we're going to drill this out. So let's take a look. I'm just going to try to hold it as still as possible and drill this bad boy. Gotta get it going first. So the hard part is not having a vise. It's already like kind of walking off sideways. I don't want it. Right there, I'm not sure if it's even perpendicular. I'm just gonna do my best. Come on now. Oh, come on. That came out. Hold on a sec. Alright. Sorry, that loosened up. It's really tight now. Let's try again. Move my hands back. I need to try to hold it still, though. It's the hardest part. I need a better drill. There we go. Thing is, I just need to make sure it stays as centered as possible. There we go. Sucks without a vise. Alright, so what happened there is I bottomed out as far as this will let me travel. So I actually got to raise it up some. What I'll do is always put a block under it, but I got to get it in there first. So I'm just going to put the blank inside the drill, raise it up some, give me a clearance down here, and then I can push it back down. And now that should drill through the blank and into this wood. And I'm okay. This is a sacrificial piece of wood. Now I'm bottomed out again. I don't know if it went through though. I didn't feel it punch through. No, we didn't get through. So we'll do the same thing. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit. So we're going to put this in here, because I know that it was just right there, bottomed out, and it didn't work. So I'll raise this a little bit, so I know it. That's why I say I need a new drill. I need something that's bigger. So if you want to buy me a drill, please do. I won't say no, and I love you forever and ever. But a taller drill with more travel than 2 inches would be amazing, because I'm just being an infantryman like the Army taught me, and improvising. Alright, now that I've lifted up, I should be able to get deeper in the blank now. So hold on. Alright, we made it. It's still too tall to get through. I know we're through because I saw it. Gotta run that down. Got down plate. Oh. That thing's blocking it. Hold on, let me get that. There we go. That took a little more longer than expected, but we have a hole. Now we have to test the hole. So in order to do that, we take our blank, I'm sorry, not our blank, our brass tube here, we stick it in the hole and make sure that it fits, and then we shake it. Dang, that thing slid in. Do you see it slide in? Hold on, let me take these clamps off. So you're supposed to put your fingers over them and you shake, and you should be able to feel this slightly moving back and forth on the inside. You can hear it. So I know that it's correct. Now, there was one thing I forgot to do prior to cutting this. If you look at the width of the blank and the brass tube, you see all this extra space over here and all this extra space? That's a no-go. It's a lot of trimming to do, so you're supposed to trim it first, and I forgot to do that. But it's okay, I can do it now and we'll be fine. So what you do is you kind of line up the very end of the tube with maybe an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch, and then you want to do the same measurement on this side. So I'm just going to mark it, because like if you look at the lead there, it's not up against it, so it's a little bit out. So we're going to make a line right there, and if you look at your lines, I got about an 1/8 inch or 1/16 of an inch from there, and from this edge as well. So this line here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. And I have my scroll saw right here to do that. And we're going to get that knocked out. Here's another blank from another pen I did. Alright. So, put this under there and carefully cut it out. Don't worry, I will not cut my finger. I'm going to get close, and then you can either just lightly push it or use something else to push into it. That way it doesn't cut your finger. There you go, and you're done. And then you have your blank. Now you can double check your measurement, make sure you didn't ruin it by taking your brass tube to make sure that it is still shorter than this, with a little bit of play on both ends. And if you looky there,
There's a hair of space over here and a hair of space over here. So the next thing we'll do, we're going to glue this up, stick it inside there, and let it dry. And after it dries, then we will trim the barrel, and I'll show you how to do that as soon as this step is done. Okay, so these pen kits that come from Penn State Industries, they look like they're already scuffed up. They're not high gloss, shiny, like these. You see the difference? I believe they're already scratched up, but I like to go ahead and scratch it up anyway, because what you do, they look like they came across diagonally, so I'm just going to go the opposite direction. And you can see the scratch marks I'm leaving in there. So if they're coming like a barber pole or a candy cane, I go the other way to make them like a crosshatch pattern. So what this does is it creates these little bitty tiny channels, grooves inside the metal. So when you glue it up, you have a really good strong mechanical bond between the metal, that's this brass tube, and your blank, which we're using Indian ebony, so this would be wood, but same goes for the acrylic blanks too, which are basically kind of like a really hard plastic. With a good mechanical bond, you will be able to adhere both pieces together without coming apart. If you don't do this, you will not have a good mechanical bond. I mean, for sure, you can just put glue on this and throw it in there. It'll probably stick for a little bit until you get on the lathe. Once you get on the lathe, you hit it with the turning tool, I guarantee it's going to slip because that glue is going to break. But when the glue gets into the surface here, it really holds strong. So on a smooth surface like that, if you were to zoom in microscopically, the surface is real smooth. So you put glue on there, it's just going to slide around. But when you scrape it up like this and sand it down, you're creating that top layer, the surface, to have like grooves in it like this. So when you put glue in there, the glue goes down into these grooves, creating a very strong mechanical bond. So we got this. I don't know what I do with my blank. Where'd my blank go, baby? You can pause it if you need. You already started. Oops.
Oops, there's
we got a cameraman that don't know how to cameraman. Alright, so this is CA glue. It's just super glue. I do not have my fast stick activator, which you spray it on there and it like instantly dries in like 5 seconds, like no joke. I'm out of it, so we're just gonna have to let this dry on its own natural timing. Wait, put some glue up in here. Kind of smear it around. I use a lid, the nozzle, smear it. Actually, I forgot to do this. I usually use the cap to hold it so I don't get it all over my fingers. So I can get it on the end too. There we go. I'll get this side, then I'll rotate a little bit and get on that side. I mean, I literally drenched the whole thing. I'd rather have too much on there than not enough and it slip and break because there was no glue present. Rotate. Nice little dry area here. I'll take this. Now, if I don't get it completely covered, it's okay because when I go stick it in the wood, it like drips down in there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And I always have wipes out here ready. So I take this, you stick, oh, it's already sticking to my finger. And kind of just go down in there. And I use this to push it down in just past the surface. All right. Once it's just past the surface, check the other side to make sure it's at least inside. And it is. It's not too far. But then you can actually take this out. And you come in from the other side. And what it does is gives you glue from both sides. But now you gotta kind of be quick, because glue's dripping all over the place, and I'm about to freaking stick my fingers together, because that always happens. Who has ever played with C8 glue and not got glue all over their fingers? I always gluing myself up. Anyway, so here we go. I'm just wiping off the excess so I don't have a chance to glue myself together. And then I wipe the lid off and my nozzle so they don't leave crusties and I get a hard cap. And then when you're done, if you look here, the brass is just inside the edge of the wood on both sides. There's about 1/8 to 1/16 of an, or 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch that's left. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let it dry, and you might see the edge of the glue leaking inside, and that's okay, because when we trim the barrel, there's a reamer that goes down in there that's going to clean this entire cylinder out. And there's two things that this does. Let me give you a little sample. It's on my drill. Where's my drill? Here we go. This is the wrong size for it, but you have the reamer here. That goes inside the tube. I've got to change sizes. And that cleans inside the tube all the glue out. But then on the end down here, perpendicular, it's called a trimmer. So what these edges here do is get up against the wood. And it is a perfect 90 degrees here. And as you're reaming, your 90 degree trims this down, and you're going to have a perfect 90 degree from your center of your tube to the edge, the face of this. So when you put it on the mandrel on the lathe, it is perfectly straight. You're not like wobbling like this, and it actually spins perfectly even like it's supposed to. But we have to wait for this step. I have to wait for this glue to dry. So we're going to let this dry, and I'll come back later and finish this at another time. Alright, we're back for the next step of this pen making video. And it's been a minute, and I'm sorry for that. It took a long time for the manufacturer to send me a part that I needed. So this is a barrel trimmer and a reamer. And this hole here on your blank in the pen tube, you see how big it is? And you see how small this is? Look, you see all the play? Yeah, that ain't gonna fly. So, in order to get this in there and to fit, so I could square this up where it's straight up and down and not like kick to the side or anything like that, because you need it straight, I had to order this piece. This is just like a spacer. And it took almost like 2 weeks for it to get here. I finally got it the other day in the mail. So you put this on here to kind of create some space, and now it fits in there snugly. Now we can truly square this up, and that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so I put the reamer and the barrel trimmer on the vise. I'm sorry, not the vise, the drill press. I put the spacer on there. I'm going to put this inside the blank. Okay, and I'm going to put a spacer pad down here so I have something to press it into. And we're just going to, I know I did it a little bit, but it wasn't true and squared. Now we're going to do it. But also, what I'm also doing in here is, if you look at the, it's very hard to tell, but the brass, if you look on the edge, there's some wood. So the brass goes over and then steps up and over. We need to get that all flat. So I just got it close. But now that I have the right tool, I can get it perfect. And same thing on the other end. We got to get the wood and the brass perfectly level with each other. Right now the wood is slightly longer than the brass tubing. But now that I have the right tool, the spacer here, I can actually do the job properly. So that's what we're going to do right now. And you just go a little bit at a time. And you check your spacing. I blow off the wood, so I can see where my wood is and if it's level with the brass yet. my chuck is loose. I don't know if you saw that, but that's coming out. I tightened it down. I don't know why I didn't tighten it. Oh, that's loose. I tightened that too a while ago. The chuck is tight. That needs to go here. Let me get that in there. Tighten that down. That's not supposed to move. It feels like it's stripped. This is the right tool for it. This little bitty Allen wrench. Bro, it's stripped. The set screw in here is stripped, and that's wobbling. That shouldn't be wobbling. Oh man, this might suck. It's stripped. Come on. Why is it doing this to me? It feels like it's tightening, but then it gets right there and slips. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, so not the set screw on the internal, but the threads that are on the outside of that set screw is stripping with the barrel trimmer's threads here. So I'm going to have to get a new one. But what I did is I just shoved it up to the very bottom of the reamer. So it bottoms out into the chuck up here and it doesn't move. So it should work. We'll get this down the bottom here so it has nowhere to go. There we go. If you can, cameraman, zoom in all the way. Not all the way, but at least to where you can see the brass. Get a little bit of shavings. You check your distance, and I got a hair to go. And sometimes you'll hear it. You'll hear the barrel trimmer scraping the metal, and it's a different sound than just wood. There we go. Now you can see it though. You can see that shiny brass and how it's flat and flush with the wood that's next to it. And that's what we want. So now this one's good to go. This one is square and true, perpendicular at a perfect line there. And we'll flip it over and do this side. So we get this in there. I like to get it going in there. And we'll do the same thing. You don't want to go too far, because if you cut off too much, then your blank's going to be too short for your pen, and you'll have a gap between your tip and your blank, or your cap and your blank. So you want to barely just touch it, just barely get it trimmed, and then stop, so you have the perfect length. That's why I shave a sec, I back it out, and I blow the debris away, and then I check my lines. Almost there. There we are. There it is. I'm just barely touching, just to clean all the debris off. And now there we go. So you can see this brass is flush with the wood that's right next to it. Now I can get this out. I'm just using the edge to press it down. There we go. This was a freaking 2-week wait. Slowed me down. But now we're flush on this end. And we're flush on this end. If you look, you can kind of see the step up inside of there. And on this side, you can see where the barrel trimmer was and over. That little bit will throw the entire pen off. So I had to wait for this to be a true square and not a guessed square. So that way, when the pen is put together, dropped a piece. Let's just say these are just parts of your pen and your blank. So that way, let's just say this is the alignment of your pen and this is the blank. Having this trimmer here will actually line it up perfectly. If I didn't do that and just eyeballed it and guessed it, this would be kicked off this way, ever so slightly. but you would probably notice it as you're writing. And so I had to wait for that tool to come in so I can go from this to perfectly in line to make sure that your pen's not cockeyed to the side. Anyway, that's it. Next step is putting it on the lathe. Alright, it's time to put it on the lathe. So, in order to do it properly, we need to follow the instructions because different pens call for different bearings and bushings and stuff. So, let me show you how I have this set up. I have my instructions here that come in the kit. I have all my pin pieces out. And I look at the diagram here. Actually, there's this stupid sleeve that took forever. The bushings are already out. I have one here and one's already on the lathe. But here's my headstock. Then it tells me I need 7mm spacer bushings. 1, 2, 3 of them. Then we have the step down bushing. That's one piece, which is this tip bushing. All right. Part A is this outside, the bigger piece. Part B is the inner one. And there's 2 of them. They look like this. All right, so one's already on the lathe, and I'll show you that in a minute because I already have these out there on the lathe. Then we got the blank that's here. That's this piece. And then we'll put the tail end on there and then the knurled nut on the mandrel. So let's go over there. Here we go. I'm going to spread these out and just show you. Here's my headstock. We got 1 7mm, 2 7mm, 3 7mm bushing, and then we have the specific bushing for the Gatsby. Alright, here's the blank. We're going to put the blank right on here. We're going to slide it in and make sure it sits into place. And then I'm going to grab the other bushing, put it on there, and make sure it actually gets inside of there. So when we turn it down, we're turning it to this outer, the bigger diameter of these. But look here, I can't put the knurled nut on because I don't have threads. But that's okay. I'll just use other bushings that I have to add space there. Alright, these are bushings from a Vertex pen. I'm just going to use these as spacer fillers. So, let's go throw these on. Put one on this end. Put one on this end. Now my threads are showing. Now I'll just grab my knurled nut, wherever I put it, if I can find it. And then we can continue. Alright, here's my knurled nut. We're going to just throw it on here. And I had a different tailstock on here, which I pressed too far into my mandrel, and it mushroomed out the end. So now I have troubles always getting a nut onto here because it's too fat. And I'm trying to line it up just perfect so I don't strip it out. I just bought this guard and lines up with a vacuum in the back so it gets all the dust out of my way. But then also it has a light so I can not have a big lamp in my way that I've had on here. And it has this little face protector shield too, which is pretty cool. Alright, let me get this on there. Alright, we got the knurled nut on there. That was tough because it's mushroomed out. So, what I had here was live center, which I'm going to show you, is this piece. It was pointed. I just took a little grinder to it though and kind of shaved it down because it kind of melted inside there when I told you it mushroomed out. It was in here, and this was the piece that it was mounted onto. But I bought this new mandrel saver because you can see a hollow end and a pointed end. This just kind of just melts to it and it wobbles too much. So I'll put this on there to hold it more stable. But if you look at this, look at the size difference. This is too small. See, that's not going to work. That's a no-go. So what I did was I kind of used drill bits to shave this inside out some because this wouldn't fit in there, and it's not perfectly centered, just so I can hold it like this. I'm just going to rig it and try to do my best, but I'm going to put this in here and we're just going to try to make this work. I'm going to shove this in here, we're going to lock it down, and now we should be in business. There we go. It still wobbles a little bit over here. I can push this out. Now I can see right here that this is stabilized. This isn't really going anywhere, but now this isn't wobbling either. Did you see a while ago how it was wobbling? Now this is not wobbling. I'm pretty much there. The toast lock's locked in. We're gonna have to lock this in. This thing did not come with a handle when I bought it, so I gotta rig it. And I just use these little pliers to lock it. It's hard. It's like really hard to lock this down without that handle on there. So I just use this to lock it into place. And that keeps this from backing out, which keeps this from wobbling. I need this stabilized, just like the headstock. The headstock and tailstock both got to be stable. So as I turn this pin blank, it stays straight and it doesn't wobble on me either. So anyway, let me get this tightened down. We're almost there. See the troubles I go through for pins? There we go. All right. We are ready to turn, but I gotta set up my vacuum. I haven't done that yet, so I'm gonna set the vacuum up. Once I get the vacuum set up, we can get the tools in here and we can start turning this blank down. And we'll be able to move on. All right, we'll catch you on the next video. All right, we got the vacuum hooked up. Got the safety glasses on, although there is a shield. You gotta be double protected. Got my roughing tool, and we're just gonna take this from a square blank to a round blank, and then we'll be done. So ignore the volume, the sound. The vacuum is about to turn on, and you're just watching. But it's gonna be loud. I'm not gonna talk during the vacuum. And this is how you take it from square to circular, cylindrical.
Where's my protection?
You're not the one on the machine. All right, you can back up and zoom in. I always start in the middle and work it to the edges. So if you look at this right now, all I've done is hit the sharp edges, but we're still mainly square or octagonal, 8-sided. This is the long side, so it's actually kind of rounded right here. The back side though is not, because that's the short side. All right, so we're going to get that turned down to circular. Looks like we're there, but we're not. There's a flat spot here and a flat spot a little bit right there, so left, and right here. So we're almost there. Well, not quite. can tell because it's kind of wobbly. That's because it's touching and then not touching, and then touching and then not touching. Once I'm touching solid, I know it's round. I like this vacuum right there like that. And with that, we are round. I can feel it. And I can tell. I'm going to hit one more pass on it. It's wobbly right there, so it makes me feel like it's not done. It's completely round, no more square. And that's how you take it from square to cylindrical, to round or circular, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that's what happened. So there's a little chip out right there. It's very tiny, very small. But that will be going away. That was the wobbling I was feeling on this end right there. But I'm going to take a break now, and I'll come back and we'll do final shaping on this. We're going to have to still turn this down a lot smaller because you see the bushing here and here on the ends. This is the cap side. This is the tip side. So I have to bring this blank down to here. If not, that's what it's going to look like on the pen. So if you can imagine that being your pen, and this is your cap. If I don't bring this down to here, then that's what it's going to look like, a hard 90 right there. Same thing over here. So I got to take these corners and bring them down to this bushing. And once I bring them down to this bushing here, they will fit the pen and look smooth. And I can leave it humpy if I want, or I can do straight, or any designs in between. But this inside corner of the wood needs to match up with this bushing on this edge here. So I got to get this one turned down there and this one here, and then we'll move on to, after finalizing the shape, then we'll move on to sanding. Alright. Whoa! I dropped my tool. Anyway, we're back at it. We're going to finish turning up this pen right here. So let's get after it. Switch tools. I gotta go from my roughing bit here to, I don't even know the name of it, but it's the tool that helps me get the corners turned down to the edge of the bushing so we can have a smooth transition between blank and pen hardware. Bro, it just blew up in my face. Dude. What the heck, man? That's stupid.
Didn't have enough glue.
There was plenty glue. This is stabilized wood, too. I don't get how it would just break so easy like that. I was going soft on it. You saw it.
Probably, or there was a crack in it.
Yeah, I already turned past that crack, though. Well, this sucks. Now I got to get another tube and another blank. And this ain't on the customer. I was the one turning it, so clearly this is my fault. But why would it break like that? That is stupid. There was a little chip. If you look really close, you can see it humpity. A little, I guess it caught in there and just brought the tool inside and bit it. Dang it! This sucks. But it's part of it. It happens. Damn it. Alright. I guess we'll continue when I get back to this stage on the next one. Alright. I got a new blank put up on here. It is Macassar ebony. It's not Indian ebony, but it's really close to it. It looks like this blank right here. I just got it turned down. Trying to get it focused, sorry. That's what it was. It was connected to that. It was one piece. I cut it in half, turned it down, and that's what you have left after this. It says it right there. So I'm trying to focus the camera. Macassar ebony. Well, it says ebony Macassar. Macassar. And now we have that. It looks brown, but when I put some finish on it, it'll darken it back up a little bit. The next step is to get it sanded down. And I have some sandpapers over here I'm going to use to sand it up. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to turn this machine on. Turn the blade speed down some. And my vacuum on. It's going to be loud. You're just watching. want to show you something. What this first pass does is it gets the blank smooth. If you look, let me see here. So if you look at this black space back here behind the pen, you can kind of use that to see this profile right here. Now when I get done turning with this tool here, it's got a round R2 radius bit on there. When you get done turning that on here, it leaves these little ridges. So this top profile right here, instead of it being kind of smooth as it is, see slightly up and then down, it looks like it goes like this number. And so that first pass of the sandpaper smooths all those top ridges out that are running this way, because this thing's turning as I have the blade on there cutting into it. And so this first pass with the sandpaper smooths all them ridges out, and now everything is completely tight and locked up, nice and smooth. Now I'm going to do 4 more different grits of sandpaper here, and each grit takes about 5 minutes to get everything smooth down in the corners, because this is where the bushing starts, and that's where the cap and the pieces will fit, and I'm going to show you that. But that was the first sandpaper. I labeled them on the back so I know which order to go into in case I drop them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which matches my sanding pack here. 150 grit, 240 grit, 320 grit, 400 grit, and I'll finish up with a 600 grit on there. And then here's your pin kit. So the blanket go on the end of this, and it shows here the pin layout. This is the tip coupling. So the blank will touch up against here where these 2 higher ridges are, and then you got the blank itself, and then it's going to press into the cap or the clip, and then right behind it is the twist mechanism. So up here, so you'll see this piece and this piece, that blank's going to be right between. I'd show you, but I only got one hand and no cameraman. So the blank could be right there between these 2 pieces. And it's going to look pretty good. You'll have this down on the end, this on the other end, and those things go inside. You won't even see them. But there you go. I'm going to do about 20 more minutes of sanding, and then we'll press it together and assemble it, and it'll be done. And there you have it. The next step complete. Alright, they called the cops on me. I'm just kidding. Well, the next thing you do after my final sanding that's 600 grit is you want to take a napkin. I don't have the regular, hand towels, but get a napkin, and you just want to rub that clean to get all the debris off. So we're going to do that real quick. It don't take long, a few seconds. And it looks like it's actually pretty clean because there's nothing on there. Once you get done with that, I use this right here. This is Mylan's high friction polish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some on a blue towel, these little regular shop towel. I'll fold it up. I shook this up because the sediments settle to the bottom. I'll just put a little bit on here. I do 2 side by side usually, where they kind of overlap. And then we go back to the pen. It's kind of hard to record and show and tell. Okay, so we'll get this right there. This is where the magic happens though. This is my favorite part of the whole process. The part just before this is the part I hate the worst. But you gotta do the worst to get to the best. You see this is brown and black. But once I put this on there, it's gonna change, and you're about to see it. You can kind of see it changing right there a little bit. Now it does kind of fade out and go dull for just a moment, but when you hold it on there for a little bit longer, it sticks and shines. And I usually do 3 to 5 coats on here until I get a good sheen that I like. And then once I get that on there, it's done. I'll do one final wipe down on it, and then it is finished. Like Jesus said on the cross, it is finished. And some of the debris is coming off because I did a dry rub with this, but now that this is wet, some of the debris will come off onto your wet towel here. I'm trying to get this wrapped around. I know I'm blocking the light on here, but I'm trying to really get this dug in. I'm gonna fold it over and I'll press it into it. And I'm gonna rub this. I'm actually pushing pressure into it because I really want this Mylan's high friction polish to get into the grain of the pens. And you can see a good reflection now of the light. It's not dull like it was a while ago. But I'm gonna really push this in there. And then you can take a dry spot of it and you can kind of rub it off. And you see it stay shiny. But it's not consistent. So I'm gonna get the spots that are still dull and just press it on there and leave it there for a second, because this is a friction polish, meaning you gotta create heat for it to work by pressing into it. And you do this on a slow RPM. Right now my lathe is on the first setting, which is the slowest. And right there is actually pretty dang shiny, and this is only the first coat. I'm just gonna do one more. So while off camera, I'm gonna splash the other side of this blue towel here, and I'm going to do just one more coat. Normally, like I said, I do 3 to 5. I'm just doing 2 on this one. It's looking good though. Sorry I'm not talking, I'm just really concentrating. I'm trying to get a good consistent finish here. Just kind of move the towel around to get the wet. The stuff didn't friction on there yet. I'll get to it. There we go. It's pretty consistent now. I mean, there's a few blotchy spots, and that's why I'm going to go do a 3rd coat, because usually the 3rd or 4th coat is where it really gets consistent through the whole thing. So I just poured some more on another spot of the rag here. go. We're pretty much finished now. Yeah, we got a pretty high gloss sheen, and you can see it, the reflection of the light. Zoom in there, you see that light reflection? Pretty shiny. I'm trying to lay that. And there you have it. I'll rotate it so you can see it. There you go. There's your Macassar ebony at 600 grit with a Mylan's high friction polish finish, 3 coats. Now time to assemble. Okay, now that we got the polish, the finish onto the pen blank, we can remove it from the lathe. And I don't need my glasses on anymore. And we will press it together. So let's do that. I'm going to loosen this up. I'm going to pop the tailstock, pull the mandrel, the tailstock backwards. I got to get this knurled nut off tight on there. One thing I forgot to do, and I'm about to do it as soon as I get this nut off here, is I got to wipe the pin down just to make sure there's no loose liquidy finish left on the pen, because you don't want to grab a pen like, oh, that's greasy. Okay, drop the nuts. So I'll grab this rag, find a dry spot on it right there, and I'll just go over this, turn it, go over it, and nothing came off on it, so that tells me it's clean. Alright, we'll pull the bushings off, pull the blink off, which is nice and finished, real thin, real lightweight. And we'll come over here to my layout where I was at earlier. I put my bushings back up so I don't lose them or mix them up with other bushings. So if I ever do another Gatsby pen, I know these are the bushings for it. Sew that up before I drop them and lose them. And then we follow the instructions here on the assembly. So we're going to line up the finished parts according to diagram C. Diagram C is right here. Okay, so to avoid damage to components when assembling, use the vise, which is right here. I have it. Press the tip coupler plain side into either end of the barrel. This is considered the barrel. So we're going to do that. Tip coupler. Here's the tip coupler. Plain side, because there is a threaded side. It says plain side. So we're going to press that into there. Insert the press clip into the opposite side. There's the clip. And this is what I was showing you earlier. Into this side. It's not all the way in. That's what the press is for. But there you go. Screw on the tip end over the exposed threads of the tip coupler. Okay. And here's a preview of kind of what it's going to look like. And don't worry about the fingerprints. I'm going to clean it all up. Pull the refill tip cap out and drop the refill spring into the opening end. So pull the tip cap, refill out. Oh, the spring, where'd the spring go? There we go. I'm not going to drop it in. Oh, it's tapered. The diagram shows a smaller taper that way, so I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to put it in this way, and then I can drop it in there. Drop the refill with the spring into the open. Screw the twist mechanism into the clip assembly threads. Mount and push the twist cap over the mechanism stem bottom, which would be here. None of this told you when to go to the actual press. And I just dropped the spring. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Sometimes these instructions suck. Well, since that's out, I'm just going to go ahead and go to the press here and get that cap in. And rotate it to a spot that I like. I like it opposite right here. I'm going to go ahead and press this into here. I always do this, put a napkin in the press just so it doesn't damage any of the components. So if you look on the inside, you'll know exactly where it's at. I'm gonna go. The instructions usually tell you when to press it in. Well, I guess it does say press it in. I just didn't come over here to press it in. I was just assembling. All right, we got the cap end in. I'm going to back that back out a little bit. I'm going to put this onto that end. I'm going to put this in here. Golly, I'm going to have to really back that out to fit all that. I need to nail this thing down to the table. Alright, there's a little point inside there so it will sit perfectly flush. Alright, if you watch right here, I'm going to press that together. See it going together right there? Alright, there we go. Those colors look good together. I like that. And back that out and see what I did with this. Although it punched a hole like a hole puncher, it didn't damage this. It didn't scratch that up or nothing. Okay, then I'm gonna redo this. Oh, I said to screw that. That goes on this end. That screws into here. So we're gonna drop this in, flip it that way. We'll have to play with this and figure it out. This doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't fit right. I might have done this wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to go in this way. Where did the spring go? Oh, it's right there. Let me screw this. Why is this not screwing in? It has threads. And there's threads in here. Put that in there. Spring on it. Put this on, screw that there. I don't know why it's not screwing in here. Well, that's what the finished pen will look like. I'm going to have to figure out how to get this done, but there you go. That's the Gatsby. It's got an ebony blank macassar with black and chrome. It's got a cool little details in there. I'm going to go play with it now to figure out how to actually assemble this thing. I might have to go watch some other video because this is not screwing in like it should. Okay, that's it. The Gatsby. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Peace. All right, I got it. See? Watch the tip. Turn to the right, it comes out, or looking at it this way, go to the right, that'll be clockwise. And if you go counterclockwise, it puts away. What I did is I pushed the thing into the cap too far. So I had to pull the cap out so the threads could reach on the inside. But if you get to there and you got to change the refill, you can open this end, or you could unscrew the cap side to get to the refill. Actually, that's not going to come out because it sits in there. You don't need to open this end. My bad. So screw that back on all the way to the right, and the pin's going to come out. We'll back it back in. Unscrew the top side. I'd go upwards and be careful. There's a spring. Well, the spring's seated inside there. You can see the spring. It did not fall out. But now this is where you can pull your refill out and put it back in to change them when this runs out of ink. Put this back in there. Make sure it goes inside the spring. Screw it back down. And there you go. Got your pen. Haha. There you go. The Gatsby. I'm going to call it the Great Gatsby. There it is. Yay. Nice. There you go. It looks different in person. I'm telling you. It looks really dark here. It's not that dark. It's actually brown. Like, I'm trying to brighten this up to show you reality. That's really bright. It's fuzzy, but it's brown. It's like a dark brown. But there you have it. The Gatsby. Nice and finished.